Okay, so today we are talking about a hard one, but an important one. Friday, August 7th, 1998 at around 10:30 a.m. The US Embassy was then in the CBD near what's now the August 7th Memorial Park. A truck pulled up outside the gates and minutes later, Nairobi's morning turned into chaos. The attackers, linked to Al-Qaeda, they tried to force their way into the embassy's compound. A guard raised the alarm and then there was a flashbang, like a grenade, and then a large truck bomb detonated outside the embassy perimeter. The blast ripped through surrounding buildings. The embassy itself was reinforced, but I'm telling you that shockwave shattered windows for blocks. The building right next door, it was called Ufundi Cooperative House. It just collapsed. That's where most of the deaths happened. In Nairobi, about 213 people were killed and more than 4,000 injured. Almost all of them Kenyans going about their day. Bank staff, secretaries, passers-by, bus commuters, hawkers. Oh my God. There was a second near simultaneous bombing at the US Embassy in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. That one killed 11 and injured dozens more. And I'm telling you, it was the same network, the same morning. Investigators later tied the attack to an Al-Qaeda cell operating in East Africa. Names you'll see include Mohammed Rashid, who was a Nairobi bomber, captured and convicted in the US. And then there was also Mohammed Sadiq, who was an Al-Qaeda operative who helped plan or the logistics. And then there was Fazul Abdullah Mohammed, Fazul Abdullah Mohammed, who was a long-time East Africa Al-Qaeda figure. I'm telling you, the FBI ran one of its largest overseas investigations ever. Several suspects were prosecuted in US federal court and others were pursued for years afterwards. If you talk to anyone who was in town that morning, you'll hear the same thing. The ground shook, windows blew in, then sirens, and people ran towards the dust to help. Hospitals, especially Kenyatta National Hospital, they were flooded with casualties and blood donors. Rescue teams and ordinary Kenyans dug through rubble for days. Out of that pain, the site became the August 7th Memorial Park, with a wall of names, a small museum, and a quiet garden right in the CBD where the old embassy stood. If you have never been, just go. It's history, but it's also healing. This attack was a wake-up call for the world, 3 years just before the 9/11. In the US, an official review board led by Admiral William Crowe said diplomatic security worldwide was unacceptable. After that, Washington changed how it builds embassies. Bigger setbacks from the street, perimeter standoff, blast-resistant design, collocating offices inside a single secure compound, and strict site selection rules. A new US embassy for Nairobi was opened in 2003 in Gigiri. It's across from the UN with those hardened standards built in. In Kenya, the bombing sits at the start of the timeline for the modern counter-terror policy. You'll see the later creation or expansion of specialized counter-terror units, tighter security practices around high-profile buildings, permanent bollards or vehicle checks in parts of the CBD, and more regular emergency drills. Over time, Kenya also passed specific counter-terror legislation, most notably the Prevention of Terrorism Act 2012, and built deeper intelligence and law enforcement cooperation with partners. Did all this happen in one day? No. But August 7th is where a lot of the urgency begins. People sometimes ask if the target was the embassy, why so many Kenyan casualties? 2 reasons. 1, the truck exploded outside the embassy where the public was on a busy weekday morning. 2, glass. The shockwave blew out windows across the CBD, turning them into shrapnel. And the Ufundi house collapse multiplied the tragedy. It's why modern security thinking obsesses over standoff distance and blast-resistant glazing. Hard lessons written in glass and concrete here. The US response came less than 2 weeks later, August 20th, 1998, where cruise missile strikes against Al-Qaeda targets in Afghanistan and the Al-Shifa factory site in Sudan. The United Nations condemned the bombings. Osama bin Laden and others were indicted in the US over the embassy attacks. That hardened embassy look that you normally see worldwide, it traces back to Nairobi and Dar es Salaam. Ambassador Prudence Bushnell, who was then US ambassador to Kenya, survived but was injured. Her testimony later laid out exactly how the morning unfolded. Kenyan first responders, police, firefighters, medics, and ordinary citizens. They saved lives with bare hands and courage. Families of the victims organized, advocated, and they helped build up the memorial. Every August 7th, there are commemorations at the park. It's not just a date in a book, it's a living memory. If you notice heavy setbacks, bollards, bag checks near key sites, that's part of the legacy. If you have ever wondered why the embassy moved to Gigiri and it looks like a fortress, this is why. And if you see Kenya's counter-terror units, joint investigations, and regular public advisories, remember the timeline. Our city learned the hard way and then it adapted. So when we say never forget, it's not about the sorrow, it's about the people that we lost, what we learned, and how we protect people better now. If you have a memory of that day or you have visited the Memorial Park, let's talk in the comments and keep documenting history.